Good afternoon, everyone. It's a Friday afternoon, the 1st of August. Super excited that there's only 6 dodos to take us to World PVNH Awareness Day, which is also in support of GMH and SVH. And so I've told you last week we have illuminations that are going to start in Australia, and then we're going to go to England, Northern Ireland, and Ireland before we hit Canada and US. And so, going from Eastern Canada to Western Canada, we have every single province where we're going to have an illumination, whether a private one or one from a public landmark. And so we are going to start in Newfoundland and go all the way to Vancouver. Unfortunately, we don't have the territories this year. I'm going to try my best for our 15th year next year, but right now it's coast to coast in the provinces in Canada. And so go check out our website for all of those illuminations, but I'll say that we also have illuminations in the US, specifically on August 7th as well, in Minnesota, in New Jersey, in New York State, and then in Texas, as well as in Washington State. So I'm quite happy about that. And then, California, I forgot California. That's going to be on the 8th. And then on the 11th, we're going to go back to New Jersey for a proclamation event this time. The 12th is going to be another proclamation event also in New Jersey. And we're going to finish off in New Zealand August 18th to 20th. At least that's the plan right now. So if you want to keep abreast of all the illuminations and all the proclamations, I invite you to go to our website, pvnhsupport.com, and you'll have a link right on the main page to go see who is illuminating and where and when for World PVNH Awareness Day, also in support of GMH and SVH. And so all that being said, it's also going to be, as most of you know, an emotional day for me. Ella would be 17 this year, and I've spoken about her very often, but she is the soul behind everything that I do, the creation of PVNH support and awareness, and all the fundraising that we've done so far, whether in the US and Canada or even overseas. And and so on that day, I'll be celebrating her 17th memorial birthday, but I will also be wearing my pink and yellow and celebrating all of our warriors, the youngs and the less young, all over the world, because it's a day that is important. I've asked you all to say why PVNH Day is important to you. I'll have to say that myself too. I'll save it for a shorter clip so I can put them all together, and maybe you'll see the bloopers, because I know there's going to be bloopers. I've already seen some actually. So yeah, there is definitely bloopers. But all that being said, so when it comes to PVNH, GMH is pretty much the same. It's the umbrella term, as you probably have heard already, for what encompasses PVNH and subcortical band heterotopia. But it is a disorder of the brain. It happens when the embryo is, being developed between, at least for PVNH, it's between 8th and 20th week. And essentially in PVNH, it's the neurons that don't go from the inside of the brain towards the outside of the brain, but they stop right in the cortex somewhere, like not where they're supposed to be. In PVNH, they're around the ventricles, but sometimes they could be towards the back or in different spots. It could be unilateral. It could be meaning that it's only on one side of the brain. It could be bilateral on both sides of the brain. It could also be one spot of neurons clump together. So one neuron or heterotopia, like a clump of it, that is problematic. And it's not always the problematic one we think is the one creating the seizures. But there's a lot of research that's being done, and hopefully there's going to be a lot more research continuing to be done so that we can understand better how heterotopia is actually happening, why. We know, there's 100 so genes that have been identified. It's actually closer to 150, I should say, identified in relations to PVNH and gray matter heterotopia. But there's, there's always more. We know that there's so many discoveries every day being done in rare disease, and so that's something that we want to work with the experts to try and understand it better. And in terms of SBH, well, we call it a double cortex, which was the old name, because it forms a band of gray matter, and so it's considered a different presentation. But most of the symptoms, when you think about heterotopias, are brain heterotopias, I should say, are very similar. The first one being the epilepsy. You may not have it for a while, and you could develop it after a while, which means that you may not know that you have a rare brain disorder until something happens. And families do find us when there's a discovery made of a heterotopia because there was a fall or an accident or there was a seizure. And so that's not unheard of. But there's also other symptoms. And so, it could be difficulty speaking. It could be having motor or cognitive difficulty. And so, for example, when it comes to PVNH, dyslexia, it has been often associated with PVNH. Autism spectrum has also been associated with heterotopia disorders. And then, like I said, the motor and the cognitive, but there's also multisystemic, I should say, symptoms. So in our case, in our family, the lungs and the heart are affected, and it's due to filament A deficiency. But it's not always the case. Some people have what is similar to Ehlers-Danlos. And so hypermobility, and some have even an Ehlers-Danlos and, a PVNH diagnosis. And so not all Ehlers-Danlos syndromes, because there's many, have a diagnosis basis, but we know of a lot. And so you can have both. You could have also a disorder on a chromosome that's associated with PVNH, or it could be something that has to do with a gene, another gene that's modified. And so there's a whole lot of things still, I'll say, that I don't understand. And I know that our researchers are working really, really hard to, working with animal models and working on, identifying how drugs can help our epilepsy patients. And so there's research out there, and there's going to be more as we continue to band, pun intended, together to, as we continue to work together to try and up the antes in terms of research. And so on PVNH Day on August 7th, I invite you once again to wear your pink and yellow, or pink or yellow, but do tell people why is it that you're doing that. It's important that people know. And I think it's important that if you're feeling comfortable enough, that it goes just beyond your circle of friends. It just, you know, do you want to reach out to media? Do you want to do a special blog that's public for that day? I'm still waiting for stories. I have a few stories that have come in. I have a few videos for why PVNH Awareness Day is important, but I would like to get more. So I invite you all to go for it, share it, leading to or on the day of, and don't forget to share things with me so I can reshare them on our public platforms, which is at PVNH Support and at PVNH Day. And so thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.